Kitco Mining's special coverage of the Deutsche Goldmesse is brought to you by Defiance Silver.
You'd be hard-pressed to find a bigger enthusiast for the Golden Triangle, British Columbia's prominent mining jurisdiction. Rob McLeod is the CEO of Blackwolf Copper and Gold, and he's also a third-generation Stewart resident, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I'm a third-generation miner from the Golden Triangle, and yes, the biggest cheerleader for the area.
Which Stewart, of course, is the hub of the Golden Triangle. Rob, welcome back to Kitco.
Good to see you, man.
Tell us about Blackwolf Copper and Gold. Now, there's a bit of a catch-up. I met you first with IDM Mining, which you sold to Ascot. I believe that was in 2019. You took a bit of hiatus, and then after that, you came back with Blackwolf.
Yeah, correct. So our last company, where we had a development stage project called Red Mountain, and you had a tour up on site. I remember when we were doing some interviews way back in 2017 or so. So Ascot Resources acquired IDM, and they took the Red Mountain project into their broader plan for a hub and spoke type mining and milling arrangement on the gold side. And they've subsequently advanced where they're actually in development to build a mill and to process Red Mountain ore, as well as from their premier big Missouri and silver coin projects. And I'm hoping this is going to lead into some of our exploration for some of our gold projects within Blackwolf Copper and Gold that are right across the border from that development project on the Alaska side of the border. But Blackwolf really spawned out of kind of a similar vision. Niblack is a advanced copper-gold-silver-zinc deposit located on Tidewater, of course, in Alaska. But that hub and spoke idea of Ascot, I thought, was an excellent one that more mining companies should do, and actually is part of the ultimate vision for our company, but more on the polymetallic side rather than pure gold and silver, but copper, zinc, often these metals that occur together that would require a different type of concentration.
Explain that again. What is the hub and spoke? How does that work?
So it's where, and one of the best examples for companies that have done this over decades would be how Boliden operates in Sweden, which is where you have one mill and one tailings facility, and you would bring in ore from different deposits by road, rail, or marine transport to one central hub. Semi-autogenous grinding, or SAG mills that you'll see at a lot of operations all around the world came out of that technology. So I think it's an idea that is, miners, we're often pretty dumb about stuff, and we don't do a lot of efficiency type operations where, why build multiple operations when you can have one lower capex, lower risk, lower impact on the environment. And so in say the Golden Triangle, or, this does happen in places like the Abitibi or Sweden, as mentioned, why not bring all the ore to one central facility and de-risk it if logistics would allow that?
Highlight the projects at Blackwolf.
So at Blackwolf, so Niblack is our most advanced project. It has 5.6 million tons of indicated volcanogenic massive sulfide resources and 3.4 million tons of inferred at a very good grade at about 1% copper and about 2 grams per ton gold, 2% zinc, and about an ounce of silver per ton in a wide ore body that is over 120 meters wide. So that is located on Prince of Wales Island in southeast Alaska. So technically not part of the Golden Triangle, but if you're looking at a global perspective, we might as well throw it in there. But our other projects that I'm exceptionally excited about are some new claims that we staked on the Alaska side of the Golden Triangle. Now, geology doesn't follow borders. There's dozens of companies that are operating on the Canadian side of the Golden Triangle. And on the Alaska side, there is one. There is us. And so we staked 4 claim groups, including one recently. And most of it was based on, I'm fortunate to come from the area and have a bit of a competitive advantage in terms of old resources, old files and reports that my dad had. and as well as old friends and colleagues that have given me some of their old maps and stuff like that, that have actually led to be what I think we have the opportunity to make, and this might sound like hyperbole, but multiple discoveries based on these completely unexplored, or at least since the 1920s, projects on the Alaska side of the border. So we call those our hider area properties.
Let's step back and then look at the region as a whole. Maybe help me out in what you consider to be some of the highlights or some of the major catalysts or major events that have happened in the Gold Triangle, say over the last handful of years. It seems to me like the whole area is just picking up steam, and then you've also seen that the interest from the majors that have come into the whole space.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of the global players on both the gold and diversified miner side. Teck has always been up there with their flagship Galore Creek project, which Newmont recently bought out NovaGold to have a 50-50 JV. Keep your eyes on that for what could be a tremendous development project, probably, in the $5+ billion range. Newcrest is shaping up to be the big consolidator in the areas. They bought Red Chris on the northern side of the Golden Triangle. It's a copper gold mine that look for them to ramp that up into a very large underground operation. And of course, the recent $3.4 billion or so acquisition of Pretium Resources for their Brucejack mine that closed several months ago. Seabridge has substantially started construction on their KSM project, the largest undeveloped gold deposit in the world. It's just massive. Lots of new discoveries, including, smaller juniors that have made, in the case of Ascot Mining, I think that company in particular is onto some pretty spectacular discoveries right next to the world famous richest mine in the modern era, Ascot Mining, or Ascot Creek deposit. So that's Ascot Mining. Ascot Creek, which is currently in redevelopment or proposed redevelopment by Skeena Resources. Tremendous value that Walt Coles and his team have added there. That I'm sure they'll be restarting the mine. I mentioned, of course, Ascot being a consolidator. I'm a director of Dolly Varden Silver on the southern side, which they have consolidated with Fury Gold Mine's old Homestake Ridge project to now approaching 2 million ounces of gold equivalent type system, which could be the next one in the project pipeline. Goliath Resources, beautiful new discovery that looks very similar to our Cantu project, and dozens of projects that are doing, or companies that are very aggressive in terms of making new discoveries. Tudor Gold, the first 10 million ounce discovery worldwide in the past decade. So it is the hottest place on the planet. It's not without its logistical challenges. I won't sugarcoat that, but it's an excellent jurisdiction, good relationship with Indigenous groups, and a proactive government. So it's a good place to be.
How are we doing with the infrastructure in terms of road access and also with power?
So there's the portions of the region are electrified with cheap hydroelectric power. It's amongst the lowest power costs in the world that can help offset the high snowfalls and steep terrain that you certainly would have seen when you did your tour up there. Any new mine that's in development or new projects that come online go to lower overall costs as infrastructure slowly develops the area.
The region is changing. The glaciers are receding up there as well too. That isn't covering new geology up there.
And that's where a bunch of these new discoveries have been coming from, including some old mines. Like the one interesting family story is the Brucejack mine. In fact, is named after some of my family members. Jack McLeod was my grandfather. Bruce McLeod is the CEO of Sabina Resources. His father, my uncle Don, was the original explorer of the Brucejack system. The Valley of the Kings, when he was exploring it in the late 1980s, early 1990s, was still under a glacier. So that's an example of something new that was discovered. In one of our projects, a target that we call Solo, we are exploring for, in the 1930s, where these crazy old timers would literally tunnel through a glacier looking for the source of ultra high grade gold silver veins in float that were found on the margin of this glacier. And eventually these guys found them in 1937. And the ice is long gone, so we cannot wait to get out there to actually see what was a heck of a lot of work for these old timers looking for the source, these Bruce Jack style uber high grade veins.
It was when you step back, when you had the deal with Ascot with IDM. I was, you're such a great follow on Twitter, and you really like to think about the exploration space. What I've noticed is on the mining side, there has been so much innovation. Everybody's talking about electrification, automation. They're talking about those two coming together, and that's really changing the economics of being able to develop mines. What is also possible these days. What's happening on the exploration side? I mean, from what I hear, it mostly seems to be about kind of data mining, machine learning or something like that, being able to crunch a large amount of data. But is there anything else you're seeing that's being revolutionary, or at least that's coming up as far as exploration, Rob?
So there's no silver bullets have come along. But in terms of where the science is really been advancing in the discovery, say in the Golden Triangle for making new discoveries, the geology behind where these deposits occur, and this is by some government surveys and some excellent explorers like Charlie Gregg that have seen a lot of these different deposits, that there's a certain horizon, we call it the thin red line, that you want to be on. All the deposits are located very close to the Jurassic-Triassic boundary, geological boundary. So in terms of, that's an innovation on the science side. But in terms of new technology, it's been able to integrate. There's been a lot of work done in the past. First of all, complex GIS systems, geographic information systems that can integrate all this information, highly detailed LiDAR surveys, which will give you, centimetric accuracy of topography to help finding faults. Some new geophysical techniques have been helping in the case of SK Mining. Some of their new discoveries were related to geophysical discoveries, but really it's good boots on the ground and drilling high-grade gold, silver, or copper showings that's still leading to all the discoveries up there. You can't beat a geologist in his rock hammer and his hand lens or some prospectors too. You don't need to be a professional to make new discoveries in the region.
Lastly, Rob, over the next 12 months, milestones from Blackwolf.
Oh, so first of all, the first one that should be coming out shortly for Niblack is updating our resource. There's been multiple rounds of drilling since that last resource was done in 2011. So that should be coming up near the end of June or early July. Drilling then subsequently out at Niblack later on in the summer in August. And then I really want to emphasize drilling what is the best undrilled target I've seen in my career in the Golden Triangle at our Cantu project, which is coming full circle back to Ascot Resources' premier project. We literally stepped right across the border, and I couldn't believe that this was sitting here undrilled. There's a 30-meter wide quartz vein with high-grade gold and silver, up to 30 grams gold and 2,000 grams per ton silver, that has never seen a drill hole. It's outcropping in the cliff. You can trace this and other prospects for 5 kilometers, literally right across the border, that has not seen any work since the 1920s. I've driven past this project 100 times. I had no idea that these veins were sitting here and never been drilled. We'll be drilling them in July. So fingers crossed on that one.
Rob, thanks for speaking with Kitco.
Thank you, Mr. McRae.
We'll find you also on Twitter at Goldfinder12.
At Goldfinder12, you can check me out, especially if you like lots and lots of photos of my Vizsla dogs on my various adventures.
and pictures of Stewart. He's Rob McLeod. He is CEO of Blackwolf Copper Gold. My name is Michael McRae, and you're watching Kitco Mining here at Deutsche Goldmesse in Frankfurt, Germany.
Kitco Mining's special coverage of the Deutsche Goldmesse is brought to you by Defiance Silver.